mudslinging in the world will keep people in darkness. But if you love them and you point them to the cross, and you point them to the Savior, and you point them to a God that no matter where you've been or you are in your life, there is a loving God that knows how to reach way down. No matter if you're in the top pinnacle of your life of success, God can reach that person just as much as He also can reach somebody like in a prison cell. God reached Larry. Play it with me this morning. Watch. Larry was in prison 30 plus years. Listen.
Hello, I'm Larry Reese, and I just want to say this. 35 years ago, actually 36 now, I was in prison with a life sentence for first-degree murder and armed robbery. Without hope, despair. But yet, a lay preacher came to me in the Brevard County Jail and shared Jesus Christ with me. And I found Christ, and He found me. That man was a real lifesaver. I prayed for years that God would get me out and that I'd find a church where I could really worship Him and be with people who love God, who love souls. I was led to this church, and the reason I love it is because I know that from the pastor on down, there's a heart for people, compassion for people, and we only need to get more. And just as God used a lay preacher to reach me, a very unlikely soul, in the depths of my sin, He can save anybody if He can do it for me.
Somebody told Larry, there's hope. Somebody told Larry, there's help, there's mercy, there's grace, there's forgiveness, there's a light out of your darkness. Somebody said flowers grow out of dark moments. Friend, can I tell you today, God uses the dark places in people's lives to bring the light of the gospel to their lives. I read recently, growing churches focus on reaching receptive people. Non-growing churches focus on re-enlisting inactive people. Rick Warren writes, there are far more people in the world who are ready to receive Christ than there are believers ready to witness to them. May God help us to be the light to a hurting and a lost world. Secondly, we must not only choose to be free, but how many of you believe we've got to choose, church, to stay free? Paul says to the Galatians, stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made you free, and be not entangled again into the yoke of bondage. You see, people that are free have His joy, have His strength, have His courage, have His power in their life. But how many of you know it's a choice to stay free? God sent His Son Jesus, and He died on the cross, and He paid the supreme sacrifice so that I could stay free. Do you believe you can stay free from anger, bitterness? Friend, I believe you can. Watch Paul Mills as he declares an incredible testimony this morning. You can stay free.
How can a young man, 15 years old, who has just seen his parents brutally murdered, not be full of hate, bitterness, hurt, all the disillusionments that come with that? Well, I'm here to tell you that God is able and faithful to deliver you, because 35 years later, thinking I had forgiven this person, a minister asked us to do an inventory of our lives as to whether or not there was anything, any grudge, any problem that stood between God and us. And I began to go through a checklist, and it was at that point God just dropped the name of this person who 35 years before had killed my parents in front of me. And I was stunned by that because I thought I had dealt with it. The fact was I'd compartmentalized it. But when I called his name out, this perpetrator, and said, yes, God, I surrendered it, it was one of the most fabulous deliverances that I have ever experienced in my life. God is faithful no matter what we face. God will deliver us because He had allowed me to have genuine forgiveness for this sin against my family and against me personally. And He gave me the grace to pray for His salvation before He died. And I think that is a great testimony to what God really can do in our lives when we totally turn things over to Him.